Kaleidoscope Viet.
Xin chào các bạn. Welcome to the first episode of Kaleidoscope Viet. The show is hosted by Friends of Vietnam Heritage, FVH for short, the leading culture and heritage society based in Hanoi for more than 20 years. In each episode of Kaleidoscope Viet, we explore the colorful personality of Hanoi and Vietnam, diving into this nation's rich and vast culture, heritage, and tradition. On this show, we're gonna take a deep breath and relax as we're taking a peek into Vietnamese coffee culture over the next hour. We will join the conversation between John, FVH chairperson, and Nguyen Huu Khoi from VICAS, Vietnam Institute of Culture and Arts Studies, where they share their mutual love for coffee, explore the history of coffee in Vietnam, and how this beverage and cafe had created a particular cultural identity in Vietnam.
Kind of unique, and once again, it's one of the different things that is so different about Vietnamese coffee culture compared to other coffee culture.
We also meet two owners of one of the first coffee shops in Hanoi. Listen to their stories about the old days.
Rất là đáp ứng đúng thị trường và đã tự chế biến rang xay và làm pha chế cho đúng khẩu vị.
That's all to come here in today's episode of Kaleidoscope Viet. But first, let's enjoy some music. The song we're about to listen to is Ly Cà Phê Ban Mê, The Cup of Coffee in Ban Mê, written by Nguyễn Cường, performed by EP01. The song takes you to Tây Nguyên, the land of coffee. Here we can feel the passionate, vibrant and sturdy character of the people in Western Highlands of Vietnam.
Cho cà phê như sáng lá trong thế giặc lên, cho cà phê như sáng blue hồng thế giặc lên của giang ruồi sang lẽ biết hồng gì đoa câu của giang ruồi sang lẽ biết hồng gì đoa câu ly cà phê như muốn nói cùng em câu gì. Ly cà phê như muốn hát cùng em câu gì. Hương bay theo làn khói vẽ mùa xuân long lanh. Hương bay theo làn tóc giữa trời xanh long lanh. Ánh mắt em xanh hay mùa xuân đang về. Khói thuốc bâng khuâng hay ly cà phê Ban Mê.
That was the song Đi Cà Phê Ban Mê. Kaleidoscope Viet. It wasn't very long ago that Vietnam's cafe and coffee culture was not that well known on the world map. It seemed that only those of us within Vietnam knew how great this was. Yet, just only a few years ago, in autumn 2019, in honor of International Coffee Day, CNN Travel lists our beloved city of Hanoi near the top 1 in the list of top cities in the world where one could experience the best cups of coffee. Commenting, "Coffee is deep in the DNA of Vietnam, and the country is one of the biggest producers of the beans in the world." Those of us, of course, living in Hanoi and Vietnam have long known this fact. Coffee has been, is, and will always be part of our blood and the life of our cities. Coffee, for Vietnamese, is more than just a drink, and cafes are more than just cafes. For that reason, let's join the conversation between John Reilly, a Viet chairperson, and Nguyen Huu Khoi from VICAS. Khoi is also the founder of Hanoi Capital, an online platform to promote Hanoi to visitors. Both John and Khoi share their mutual love for coffee.
Oh, Vietnamese coffee. It's strong, it's rich, and it's flavorful.
Oh, this is so good.
I so enjoy being able to stop, find a seat on the street, enjoy a hot cup of coffee in the middle of the day, and watch the world go by. Khoi, can you explain a little more about these spots that I have been stopping at to enjoy this strong, colorful drink?
Sure, John, it's a great way to explore Hanoi. And I always say this to my friends that one of the best ways to discover Hanoi is always get out there and walk on the street. And while walking in Hanoi, I noticed that everywhere you go, there will be plenty of different coffee shops with different models, different concepts, and different drinks. And you will see that in this dynamic city, the coffee culture is the one thing that is very simple, very familiar, but is one of our most important culture. Coffee shops, they're just everywhere. They're the lifeblood of the people here. And people spend a lot of time at different coffee shops every day. All I can say is, if you don't try different coffee shops here, you're not living in Hanoi. You're not living the Hanoian life.
So, Vietnam produces a lot of coffee.
Yes. Did you know that Vietnam is actually the second biggest coffee exporter in the world?
No. The second?
The second, yes, it's the second biggest coffee exporter, only after Brazil.
Wow.
A lot of people didn't know that, so we are here to share it. Only after Brazil, Vietnam's the second biggest coffee exporter, with the average value of coffee export accounts for $3 billion per year, and I think that is huge. So the coffee culture here plays a very essential role, a very big role for our daily life, culturally and economically, because it does certainly play a very important role in terms of contributing into our nation's economy with all those huge export amount of coffee every year.
So, coffee culture here in Vietnam has always been here. It came in, what, the 1940s?
The Vietnamese people did not invent coffee. The original story of coffee actually dated in the 19th century, not the 20th century, the 19th century. In fact, in 1857, the French people were the ones who brought the first coffee beans here to introduce to Vietnam. I'll tell you some small history facts. So the French brought it here in 1857, and they start planting Arabica beans at different parts of the country. After the while, they moved down south to the central highland of Vietnam, and they realized, oh, this is the perfect place to grow coffee in Vietnam because of the climate, because of the soil there. So that's why the central highland of Vietnam is a very, very popular spot for coffee. After the use of Arabica, French people realized that it does not actually make the same profit as growing Robusta bean. So they start using and planting more Robusta beans for coffee, which is why until today, Vietnam's coffee is very unique because of its strong taste, all because of the use of Robusta bean. The difference between Robusta beans and Arabica beans you might have known is that Robusta beans, it tastes a lot stronger, which is why Vietnamese coffee is very strong. And of course, it's cheaper to produce, makes more profit, it grows better on Vietnamese soil. And that's how the story came out today.
Oh, but Arabica is my favorite.
Why is that? Why do you love Arabica so much?
It seems to me to be the stronger than Robusta. You said Robusta was the stronger coffee, but no, I feel that Arabica is the stronger.
Really?
I've been to Nguyen Huu and
Nice.
tasted the coffee down there, and it's fabulous, strong, it's rich, and it's Arabica. Where else do they grow coffee here in Vietnam?
So like I said, the Central Highland is a very, very popular spot to grow coffee. Nguyen Huu Khoi is definitely a very, very popular destination for coffee lovers like you. You can also visit other places like Lâm Đồng or...
Lâm Đồng?
Yeah, Lâm Đồng.
Okay.
Lâm Đồng is very popular because of their coffee.
So, coffee came here in the late 1840s, you said?
Yeah, 1850s.
Okay, is that the first?
Start from French. That's like a very brief history of how coffee came to Vietnam. Did you know that when the French group came here to introduce the coffee to this country, they also introduced that coffee press, which is the exact coffee filter we use today to make coffee. You may have seen those cups of café sữa đá with the coffee slowly dripping through the filter, and it was also introduced to us by the French. And today is still one of the most common methods that we use to make coffee in Vietnam.
Yes, as you said, slowly indeed. I used to make a coffee that was quite easy. It was called cowboy coffee.
What is that?
It's a very strong coffee, it is indeed. You take a couple handfuls of ground coffee, throw it in a pot of boiling water, and let it boil. Take it off the campfire, and then let the coffee ground settle, and sip away. It's very, very strong. I used to get the coffee grounds, not all of them settled, and so you'd get a few in your mouth as you were drinking. I had a good friend that told me about a secret that he used, and that was to use eggshells in the coffee, crush them up, put them in there as it was boiling, and then when you took it off with the campfire, let it settle, all of the coffee, ground coffee would settle down. Yeah.
That sounds very interesting. Is that how you drink coffee in America?
Well, Americans do kind of make a different style of coffee.
Yeah.
Yes.
And cowboy coffee is one of those styles.
It is, yeah. Mostly it's brewed with a percolated type coffee pot.
And is it like a more common way of drinking coffee more in the countryside, or do people in the city do that too?
That's really just something you would do out in the countryside.
Right.
We used to do it on our camping trips. In the city, everyone uses a drip-style coffee maker. And yes, Americans...
I'd love to try cowboy coffee one day. From what you've explained, I guess I can even make one in Vietnam, in Hanoi.
Let's try it.
Let's do it. So cowboy coffee it is, and I guess you use Arabica beans for cowboy coffee. Or does it matter?
I think it was just a blend of whatever the...
Wow, there was some very interesting information about the coffee in the US. Now let's go back to Hanoi. John, how often do you go to a coffee shop in this city?
As often as I can. When I first came to Hanoi, my original plan was to visit every single coffee shop in Hanoi. I would turn around 2 weeks later and there was a new coffee shop. So I've never been able to...
I was going to say it's impossible.
It is.
Even for a local Hanoian like me, you always get surprised every day. So.
You do. It's fun to go out and look for the shops. It really is. Yeah. In my search for good coffee and interesting locations and shops, one was Lam's Cafe. It was my first shop in Hanoi. I went there to see the artwork, and it's all over the walls there with many famous artists who used to come, sit, enjoy coffee, and some paid for their coffee by their artwork. So the walls are covered with famous work.
What year was that?
Well, it was about 2002, 2003. We used to also go there because we have a good friend. She was an expat, met a Vietnamese man, and they fell in love. They used to meet there. She would sit at one table, he would sit at the other, and they would pass notes back and forth. They wouldn't talk in the dark. These shops here are where people go to meet, mostly here in Vietnam. In other countries, it's different.
I guess so. It's kind of interesting to see that we have different drinking culture when it comes to a cup of coffee. And it's also very interesting to see that every country has their own drinking culture or a culture hub where people come, have drinks and socialize. I'm sure in many countries, like you said, a cup of coffee means something for you to get the energy and stay awake for the rest of the day, or to recharge after you do some work in the office. But a cup of coffee in Vietnam also means you're going to have a good time with a partner, or you're going to hang out with some friends just to chat and tell them stories about how your day is going. And it's one of the key things about the drinking culture here in Vietnam. For example, if you go to Japan, of course, you need to explore their tea culture to understand the country better. Or when I was in the UK, in England, for example, I noticed that when guys want to meet up, they would normally meet over a pint of beer in the pub,
Yes.
which is a very common culture space for British people to chill out and chat and get drunk. In Hanoi, during the day, when we need to meet someone, when we need to meet with friends, it's the same kind of concept. We need a place where we can all sit down, have a drink, but we don't go to the pub during the day that much. We go to a coffee shop. I think it's very interesting to see, just like the UK or Japan, the drinking culture is about socializing. The only difference is the main focus here is a coffee shop. It's even very interesting to see that here the word cafe can mean a verb, a noun, and an action that suggests a meetup between friends. So when we say let's go to a cafe, it's not like we necessarily have to drink coffee, but it's just a reason to meet. So you can go to a coffee shop, you can order a kind of lemon juice or orange juice. You don't always drink coffee when you meet someone in a coffee shop. I often say this to my friends, my foreign friends, when they visit me in Hanoi, that one of the best ways to feel and be a part of the culture here is to spend time at different coffee shops. Even for tourists, when they want to understand Hanoi better, don't just visit the tourist attractions. Visit the coffee shops, chat with the locals, observe the streets, enjoy the vibes, the atmosphere, listen to the Vietnamese conversation between the young people. And you may come to notice that for many Hanoian people, drinking coffee has become a lifestyle. People love to sit around, hang out with friends, and many of them spend a lot of time at coffee shops day and night, creating a huge coffee culture. And yes, we were talking about things like, in many countries, coffee is mostly used during the day as a tool for you to stay awake. But here in Hanoi, people can be seen at coffee shops at any time of the day, even after midnight. You know, places like Nguyen Huu Khoi Cafe or Sofa, you can find the young people sitting there even after 3 a.m. because they go there to have a hangover cure. And yeah, it's quite different here. People go to coffee shop 24/7. I think part of the reasons why this culture grew so popular today in modern Hanoi is I have my 3 explanations for that. First is because the price for a cup of coffee is generally very cheap.
Yes, extremely so. I mean, in coffee elsewhere is very expensive, so beer.
It's cheap here, right, generally. And you can sit as long as you like. The second reason is probably the taste of the coffee here. It can be quite addictive.
Addictive, yes. I think I didn't fall in love with coffee. I became addicted, yes.
Yeah. I think I may sound a little bit biased because I'm a Vietnamese person saying this. But I'm not saying this because I'm Vietnamese, but I'm saying this because the taste is actually addictive. You may not like it at the first try, but once you live here long enough, once you're used to it, you cannot quit, you cannot stop. And the third reason is because in this city, in the modern lifestyle, it's a big city, but we do not have too many public places for people to come and hang out. And I'm sure it's just a natural habit. Sometimes we just want to get out and spend time by our own self and read a book or people watch. So we choose to do that here in a coffee shop.
Yes.
Because coffee shop is a perfect place for those who need company to be alone. And I really like that saying.
Yes, Khoi, I know that I like to go to a coffee shop and just sit there and watch the traffic go by.
It's a fun way to do it, right?
Yes.
So speaking of that, the way we drink coffee is kind of unique. And once again, it's one of the different things that is so different about Vietnamese coffee culture compared to other coffee culture. For example, unlike Italian quick espresso or American coffee on the go, Hanoian coffee culture in particular, or Vietnamese coffee culture in general, is about relaxing, thinking, and slowly enjoying things. It's interesting to see that in this big urban lifestyle, everything out there on the street moves so fast and people rushing to work, people rushing all the time. But when it comes to a cup of coffee, everything suddenly slows down. And as soon as you step inside a coffee shop, you can feel that peaceful feeling. You can feel that, that atmosphere of everything just kind of slows down. The music, the vibes, the atmosphere, and it's just a great place for you to sit down and enjoy your cup of coffee, enjoy a good book, enjoy some good music, and everything kind of reflects a laid-back lifestyle. Everything shows a slow way of enjoying things, which is one very special thing about Vietnamese coffee culture. Even the way the coffee is made, dropping from the filter slowly, 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 shows a slow way of enjoying things. And maybe that's what I really love about the coffee culture here.
Okay, slowly dripping through a filter. I wish I was a patient man. I don't like waiting for that little drip maker.
No?
No. I was at a cafe one time and had it was one of my first cups of coffee, and it was a drip little maker with on top of the coffee cup. I waited and I waited, and I thought it was done. So I took it off of the cup, flipped the top over, and put it on the coffee maker on the top, and sat back and enjoyed my cup of coffee and the scene outside. But then I looked down, it had run off of the table onto the edge of the balcony and on down to a table on the first floor.
No.
Luckily, no one was there. So I've learned to be very patient. What do we call that style of coffee?
Oh, the cafe thin.
Cafe thin.
Yeah, the filter coffee, cafe thin. It's an art of slowly enjoying things, man.
No rush.
No rush.
While waiting for the cup of cafe thin, let's take a break. And after that, we will see how Hanoians enjoy their coffee.
Hi everyone, my name's Stella and I'm the Vice Chair of Friends of Vietnam Heritage, or FVH for short. And for those of you who are not familiar with what we do, we were founded in 1999, over 20 years ago. And since day one, we have been telling the story of Vietnam's culture to anyone and everyone who loves this country. As far as we know, FVH, based in Hanoi, is unique in Vietnam. We are the only organisation that brings all cultural activities together under one roof. So how do we do this? It's actually through many activities that we run every month, including over 25 Hanoi city walks in English, Japanese and Spanish, exploring the city through the eyes of the locals, wandering down hidden alleys and revealing the stories behind the walls of buildings. We partner with leading academics and professors who share their knowledge in small group discussions, which gives us a chance to dig down deeper into a topic. Our excursions go off the beaten track, and we find artisans and villagers who are eager to tell their stories, while our book club reviews Vietnamese literature and authors. These are just a tiny few of our monthly activities. And if you're interested in taking part in FVH or finding more about us, please email us at hello@fvhheritage.org or our website is www.fvheritage.org.
Could you share with us if you often go out for coffee?
Well, I often go. My friend would come with me to kind of check in the place.
So normally, if you go out for coffee, where would you go?
I would go to any place that has good coffee. Well, talking about that, there are some places like Sườn Cafe, or some places like Boat Cafe, or like what is called Yên Cafe, that's specialized in frying and grinding the coffee on site. So the quality is quite okay because it's not instant coffee.
That's great. So with Zhang Cafe that you choose to come today, what is your favorite drink here?
Of course, that would be the egg coffee because this place is known for its egg coffee.
Do you often come to Zhang Cafe?
I would come here sometimes when I feel like having an egg coffee. I don't usually come here for a coffee in general, but for an egg coffee only.
So have you tried egg coffee in other coffee shops or just Zhang Cafes?
I've tried a lot of others.
Do you find any difference between Zhang's egg coffee and others?
Well, the thing about Zhang Cafe is that it has more options than others. For example, they have things like egg with wine or other variety. Also, the drink doesn't feel fishy, so I've been here for a while.
Kaleidoscope Viet. Welcome back to Kaleidoscope Viet. It's time to return to the coffee talk between our friends John and Khoi.
In Hanoi, there's a lot of different generations. How do they drink coffee?
I believe different generations in this city drink coffee differently. Let's start with the more traditional, the older generation. I think for them the important factor of going for coffee is it's not about the style or the look of the place, but about the quality and the taste of the coffee. They love places that look simple, that have been around for a long time, places that are very simple, but they sell very, very good coffee. So for this generation, there's no need to try a new, different mode of coffee shop, no need for social media check-in. All that matters is the taste and the familiar voice of a daily routine that's been happening many years in their life. A friend of mine, who's an artist who lives in the Old Course in Hanoi, and he keeps this kind of habit every day that every morning he'd wake up at 6, then go to a coffee shop at 7, have breakfast, have a cup of noise, cup of soda, chat with the locals, chat with the owners, read a newspaper, have a cigarette, then go to work.
What a great way to start
That's
your
a
day.
very, very special daily routine for him. And the thing that surprised me is that he does that every single morning in his life, every single day. So that's how they do it here. They love the place that's been there around for ages. That to me is a typical picture of classic Hanoian life. Then moving on to the younger generation, a bit different. Sometimes it's not about the taste, but how many likes they can get on Instagram or on Facebook from that pretty coffee shop. Not all, of course, but generally the young tend to prefer busy or modern place where they can come with big groups, where they can feel convenient and comfortable for them to meet friends and find inspiration. It's also a place where they come to show all the people who they are. Some of the young people who go to coffee shops these days, they dress very well and they just want to be seen, which is a very new, interesting culture when it comes to a cup of coffee. So traditionally, coffee shops are a simple, small place for people who actually enjoy the taste. Today, it's come to serve different groups of people for different purposes. They're also purpose for working, networking, business meeting, and of course, social media check-in. In general, people go to coffee shop to meet friends. People go to coffee shop because they love coffee shops. And also they go there for the Wi-Fi. So there are so many reasons to go to a coffee shop in Hanoi. That's why I said, if you live in Hanoi, you go to a coffee shop here.
Hello. Please could you share a bit with us? Do you often go out for coffee?
I often go out for coffee. I like to have coffee before going to work.
Oh, So where do you often go?
Basically near my office, just for convenience.
Do you often come to the slum cafe to have a coffee here?
Would normally come here with my friends.
What makes you like to come here?
Basically, it's near my house.
What type of coffee do you drink?
Milk coffee. For me, in general, it's just about convenience. Like, I'd come when my friends call. It's not about any fixed place.
I heard that your family also sell coffee.
My family's business.
So why do you still want to go to other cafes?
It's like a prophet has no honor in his own country.
In your opinion, what is good coffee?
In general, I don't know how to enjoy coffee. I don't know much about enjoying coffee. I just hang out with my friends when they call. Socialize only, not. It doesn't matter how the coffee is.
Kaleidoscope Viet.
So, how is it like in your country, John? Are there so many different types of coffee shop there?
Yes, many different types of coffee shops, but I'm sorry, but Americans used to ruin coffee.
Really?
They don't know good coffee. Unfortunately, it's like colored water. I must say at times very different. I don't believe there was an art of different coffee beans, coffee flavors in the US as there is here. Now it seems more so because coffee's grown here. It's been part of the civilization for over 100 years. In the last 20 years, I really haven't frequented coffee shops in the US, except Starbucks. Now it seems Starbucks is everywhere in Asia, but not so much here in Hanoi, right?
Yeah, Starbucks have appeared quite a lot in this city for over the last few years. 10 years ago, I think we only had one, and now we have about, I don't know, probably 10 now, which is still not a lot, but a lot for a city like Hanoi.
Is it popular with the Vietnamese then?
It's quite popular. The young Vietnamese people, they love to go there because we were talking about the way the generations here drink coffee, and of course for young people, they love to go to a place where they can take nice photos, where they can have some nice modern drinks, where there's an aircon, because this is the summertime, so it's kind of hot out there. Sure, they do go to Starbucks quite a lot.
Did Starbucks introduce like iced drinks here, frappuccinos? Did they have them before here?
I believe Starbucks did have an influence on the way we make coffee among those young people today. So yes, I think they kind of did bring that and introduce that here to the young Vietnamese people. Before Starbucks, we did have a lot of brands that kind of promotes the drinks that way, like Vietnamese brands like Highland, for example. I was actually one of those young people crazy about those places. We went there a lot with friends. Every summer we gotta go there for the drinks because it is hot outside. And we'd go inside and drink cold drink, and it felt so good. The ice blended coffees, definitely my favorites.
It would be in this warm weather, that's for sure, yes.
But by the way, John, speaking of American coffee culture, I noticed, yes, in terms of the modern coffee, they did have a huge influence, not just in Vietnam, but around the world. For example, those ice blended frappuccino. But from what I've seen from those American movies, I always see people go to those coffee places in the morning and have breakfast. Those who sit in, they sit in a kind of like a bar and they drink those hot coffee in a place that looks kind of like a van. Would you tell me, I'm quite curious about that coffee culture. Is that a coffee shop? Is that a van? Would you tell me a little bit more about it?
It's more like a cafe. It's really where people go to have food and coffee. It has slowly changed as coffee's been brought to the U.S. in different varieties now. People know about Robusta and Arabica. And small coffee shops are opening, and making some good, strong coffee. Things are changing. Brands also. Some of those probably have been around or have grown quite big also now. Nguyen?
Nguyen is a huge brand, yes. It's like one of the first of the big brands in Vietnam.
Okay.
And we have modern brands, traditional, original brands like Zang Cafe, which is something we need to talk about as well. Have you been to Zang Cafe? Do you know where it is?
No.
Oh, it's where you have the most famous egg coffee in the world.
Egg coffee.
Egg coffee,
huh?
yeah.
Where's it located?
It's located on Nguyen Huu Khoi Street in Hanoi. It's actually opposite Lam's Cafe. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So I'm quite surprised you've never been to Zang Cafe. Have you heard of egg coffee?
It's quite unique. I have heard of it, yes.
Or you never tried it?
I tried it once. Not a favorite. Oh.
Okay, that's fair enough. Speaking of egg coffee, well, some like it, others don't like it. But every time we have tourists coming to this city, everybody goes to that place. And Zang Cafe started as a very small, traditional coffee shop. Now it's a tourist attraction there. When there's no COVID-19, it was super crowded, it was packed. And the reason why, yes, because egg coffee is something very special. When people heard this drink for the first time, they were like, oh, you drink coffee with egg. And I'm sure you thought the same.
Yes.
But people need to try it. So that's how the place got very famous. And it's one of the very, very famous traditional brands in Hanoi.
How did it get started?
Oh, it started from Mr. Zhang. So the shop was named after him. Mr. Zhang was the founder of egg coffee in 1946. That time he was a bartender at the famous Metropole Hotel.
Oh.
And one day he came up with the idea of making coffee with egg yolk, because at that time Vietnam liked a fresh milk. So he came up with a way to add a taste to the coffee with condensed milk and egg yolk. And that's how he invented the very, very famous egg coffee today. After that, he left the Metropole and opened his first coffee shop named after him. And today, it's the famous cafe that everybody goes to when they visit Hanoi.
Oh. Is Mr. Zhang still doing this in his shop?
His family, his daughter, following his footsteps.
Good.
So the daughter of Mr. Zhang opened another egg coffee place, which is a very popular coffee shop in the city. It's Ding Cafe on Ding Tin Huang Street. So it's good that he got his family to follow his footsteps to keep his tradition alive until today.
Well, it's a drink that everyone enjoys.
Yeah, no, coffee with egg. How cool is that?
So, how many times have you come to Cafe Zhang?
Well, Zang Cafe is one of my favorite coffee shops, but I don't really go there often because it's not close to my house. So normally I would go there in the weekends, or I have some foreign friends and I would take them there if they want to try the Vietnamese famous egg coffee.
And how old were you when you first came here?
Well, this is tough. It's been so long. I think probably since I was in high school, when my dad used to take me around or treat me with ice cream in Hoàn Kiếm Lake. Then he would take me here to have a coffee. Actually, I wasn't able to drink coffee, only my dad, and I would drink something else.
And when you come now, what do you normally drink?
Normally, if I come here, my go-to choice would be the egg coffee. I rarely drink other things. That's my favorite.
And they have a lot of different variety. Which variety do you have? Which variety of cafe chung do you choose?
Well, I love egg coffee the most, but there are times when I would go out and try green bean coffee and beer coffee, which are pretty interesting. But basically, that's only for a change. My favorite is still the egg coffee.
How is other cafes, Cafe Chung, compared to Zhang cafes, in your opinion?
Thực ra là cà phê trứng hoặc Giảng cà phê thì
Actually,
đã quá nổi tiếng
Zhang's
rồi,
egg
nên là
coffee
mỗi
is
khi mà
so
mình đến
popular
một
that
thành phố
whenever
này
I
thì
feel like
cái
drinking
lựa
it,
chọn đầu tiên của
my
mình là cà
first
phê
choice
Giảng.
would be Zhang
Nhưng mà
Cafe.
mình cũng ít có cơ hội thử
I
ở
don't
những
have
quán khác.
much
Nhưng
experience
mà cũng
trying
có
it
lần
in other
thử ở một
coffee
số
shops.
quán
I actually
quanh quanh
tried several
Hà
times in
Nội.
other
Họ
cafes around
cũng
Hanoi.
họ cũng
They do
có
have it
cà
in
phê
their
trứng ở
menus,
trong cái menu
but
thực
I
đơn của mình.
think there is
Mình cũng
quite a
có lần thử
difference.
thì mình cảm thấy rằng
The
là
egg
nó
coffee
cũng có
here
một cái
would
sự
give
khác
you a
biệt
unique
khá là rõ.
taste,
Cái
which
vị
is
cà phê
like a
trứng ở
harmony
đây thì
between
mình
the
thấy là
egg
nó
flavor
có một
and the
cái
coffee
vị
flavor. It's so strong,
giữa
and you
cả
would
cà phê và
clearly
cả
feel the
trứng, và cái cảm
mixture.
nhận đấy nó khá
While if
là
I
rõ, là
drink in
mạnh.
other cafes,
Nhưng mà nhiều khi mình uống ở
sometimes
những
the
quán
egg
khác thì
flavor
đôi
would be
khi cái vị
stronger,
trứng thì nó lại
so
trội
it
hơn,
could be sweeter or
đôi
something.
phần ngọt hơn chẳng hạn.
So, yeah, as I said, I'm not a fan of egg coffee, but of course, I think I'll try it again now. Khoi, do you like it?
I quite like it. Personally, I'm not crazy about it, but I quite like it. I love the sweet taste. I love the how creamy the egg is. I think I'm quite proud of that place too because it attracts so many tourists coming to this city. Just because of one drink, so many people know Hanoi a lot more. That's a good thing to talk about, not just the taste of the cup of coffee, but the value it brings to our society and our cultural identity. Come on, coffee with egg, think about it.
Amazing.
But because it's egg coffee, coffee with eggs, so if you try it again, you can go to the place and drink it hot, or you can order, because they do take away these days. But if you order a takeaway, please remember this. Drink it straight away. Do not leave it overnight, or do not put it in the fridge.
Why?
Oh, you do not want to reheat it the next morning. Because if you put it in a microwave, it turns out to be scrambled egg.
Scrambled?
Yeah, well, so
Put it in the microwave, huh?
so do not microwave it. That's one tip for you. That's one information not to ruin our culture.
Well, that's kind of breakfast. I'm not thinking about fresh milk.
I love that.
When I first came, there was a lack of refrigeration. It was something that wasn't possible for everyone in Hanoi many
You
years.
said the fridge, you mean?
Refrigeration, yes. Refridge.
There was like a fridge. What year was that?
Oh gosh, this was in 2000 when I came, yeah.
Really? Okay.
I don't like condensed milk because of the sugar. So I used to use fresh milk. But for many years, I tried to find cafes that had fresh milk on the menu. Not so many. My first problem was not being able to speak Vietnamese, so I couldn't pronounce sua doi. I never get it right. So actually, I took a label from a fresh milk carton, cut it out, put it in my wallet. And then when I tried to pronounce sua doi, it came out different every time. So I had this little card and I would show the salesperson and she then could figure out what I needed. It's been a struggle.
Wow, that's an interesting story. Is it still a struggle for you today?
No, actually now so many Vietnamese are learning English. They can understand that I want fresh milk. When I hold up my little card and say fresh milk, they pronounce it back to me. So it's not being a problem now. So great.
Well, but I actually think you did a great job just fine. You did just fine pronouncing the word sudoi.
Amazing.
Yeah, say it again.
Sudoi. It's very difficult. It's got many different diacritical marks on top of it. I just can't figure them out. So, Khoi, what's your favorite coffee?
You mean the type of drink?
Yes.
My favorite one, I love café sữa, the coffee with condensed milk.
Oh, yes.
Wow, it's basic, right?
Yep. Cold, hot?
Oh, depends. I don't mind. I mean, during the summer, it's definitely better with cold drink. Cold coffee with condensed milk. I love that. It's a cultural identity. I mean, it's just a classic thing, so it stays forever.
It is classic, yes. Yeah. Do you have a favorite spot you go to get your cafe soda?
Well, sometimes, actually most of the time, I make my own cup of coffee soda.
Oh.
So, I don't know. I don't actually have a favorite place to drink that cup of coffee. Because actually, if I have to answer what my favorite drink is, I have two favorite drinks. One is the traditional one, which is Café Sữa.
Yeah.
And the second one is a more modern type of coffee, which is those kind of frappuccino. I know, right? Because those ice blended coffee. I really like those. So for Café Sữa, I love to. I can have them everywhere because, like I said, it's a classic drink, so I can have them everywhere. For my favorite type of those modern ice blended coffee, I quite like place like Ban Công Cafe, which is a very new modern coffee shop in Hanoi today. They have really great drink, great music. Also, I really love going there because I love the architecture.
Architecture?
Yeah, the coffee shop, Ban Công, is housed in an amazing building. It's located inside a very elegant French villa. And as soon as you step inside the place, you feel like you're going back to history. You're going back to the past of Hanoi during the 1990s, 1920s.
Yep.
You feel like that time when people were still dancing to French music, where people stayed there and did a lot of paintings, and it's a whole vibrant part of culture and art and history inside one coffee shop, and that's why I love it.
That's great.
That's my favorite coffee shop in Hanoi. There are tons of good coffee shops, and I can name at least 3 coffee shops in Hanoi. It's really hard to choose what is the top place.
It is. But one of the great things is, yes, you're right. They're preserving some of these older buildings that we have.
Yeah. And they do so many good things for society. They contribute to the economy by creating more jobs. They also do good things for the city, like transform the city's identity, cultural identity. And they bring people together and bring the young people inside those coffee shops to learn more about culture, to learn more about history of the city.
History, yeah.
To observe art. And I think those criteria is what makes Hanoi a great city.
Fantastic, yes.
And that's how the coffee culture we've been talking today, to me, is a very special culture. That's why today I start with saying it plays a huge vital role for this country, culturally and economically. It starts from something very simple, but it's one of the things that we're so proud of today. It's not just a drink anymore. It's where the young people make their dreams come true. What Hanoi is all about.
Should be proud of it, yes.
It is an amazing culture.
That was an interesting conversation. Don't you want to enjoy a cup of coffee now? But don't forget, we still have the interviews with the owners of 2 of Hanoi's oldest coffee shops in part 2 of the show. Kaleidoscope Viet. You must have guessed which cafe whose owner we will talk to right now. Giang Cafe, which is located on 39 Lane, Nguyễn Hữu Khoi Street, is famous for its signature egg coffee and is considered as one of the must-try drinks when you visit Hanoi. Today, we have a chance to talk to Mr. Hoa, son of Mr. Giang, founder of the coffee shop.
My name is Nguyen Huu Khoi. I'm Mr. Zhang's smallest child, the 8th child. If talking about this whole coffee shop, then it's about 20 years. But talking about helping with making coffee, then since I was little. Because our family's cafe was opened in 1946, I wasn't even born yet at that time. I was born in 1955, and when I started to know about coffee, I began to work for my dad since 1970s up to now. About the Zan Cafe, there is a lot you can find in the internet. So my dad used to work in the metropole. Then in 1946, he opened his own business at number 90 Kaugo Street. And it keeps going until now. So that's its story. For the well-known egg coffee, the Metropole used to have cappuccino coffee. And it was very expensive, so only officials or the rich could afford to drink it. So my dad created the egg coffee, which is somehow similar to cappuccino, but everybody could afford to drink it. Like if the cappuccino cost 10, then the egg coffee would cost only 1. And that's why many people could enjoy it.
I would order the egg coffee every time I come to Zhang Cafe. That's my favorite. By the way, please could you talk a bit more? So has there been any changes with the egg coffee since Mr. Zhang created it until now?
There have been many changes. For example, in the past, there was only hot egg coffee. So if there were like 5 people ordering at the same time, then it could be that only one person got to drink good coffee, while the other 4 only got it so-so. Because you had to make it manually, there was no machine or anybody else to make it for you. But now there is a machine to help you. And there are other variety of egg drinks, such as iced egg coffee or egg cocoa, egg green bean, and other egg drinks.
So can I ask this, in Zhang Cafe, apart from the egg coffee, I see that there are a lot of different drinks made from egg.
Yes, that's to follow the current trend. For example, the youngsters, many of them don't like coffee. So we created matcha, egg cinnamon, egg beer, and egg rum. It's rum with egg. So every year we need to create something with egg. The original recipe would come with egg and then make some tweaks with it. So that's the difference nowadays.
So creative. Apart from the egg coffee, which is number 1 favorite, what is the second favorite egg drink?
In the past, it was only egg coffee. Recently, I've created the egg rum like before COVID. So the egg rum was originated from South America. People love to drink it. Also in Brazil. And people who would drink it like 6 shots in a row. Egg cocoa rum, egg coffee rum, rum with flavors and such.
Could you please tell us this? In addition to Zhang Cafe, which is very well known in Hanoi, we also spot Lum Cafe on the other side of the street.
Lam Cafe came later. During the French time, there were Zan Cafe and Nguyen Cafe and Hoi Cafe, Bold Cafe. All of those were from 1946 during the French time. Then, after that, many other cafes opened. For example, Lam Cafe started around 1960 when we established the subsidy period. Then came Lam Cafe, Nhi Cafe, and a number of other coffee shops. It was one period to another.
So there are many different coffee shops nowadays. How do you stand out?
Well, there are many coffee shops, but ours is unique and it's just in our nature. We are unique and good, and we just keep on going as Zan Cafe since the French until now. And from time to time, we would create a new drink to meet the market's demand, something like that. And basically, the price is much, much, much cheaper than other foreign coffee drinks, and that's something for sure.
Wow! In addition to coffee, your shop brings a lot of other values. That was the interview in Zhang Cafe. Next, we will visit Lum Cafe, which is right across the street on Psyche Nguyễn Huân. The place is well known for being the destination of artists all over the nation. Mr. Lum's daughter, Mrs. Vic, who is now the owner of the coffee shop, shares her stories about the place.
My name is Nguyễn Thị Bích. I am the daughter of Lâm Cafe's master. Lâm Cafe's masters have passed away. Now we, the children, are maintaining the brand and keeping this house at number 60, Nguyễn Hữu Khoi Street, Hanoi, for our coffee business. My family's coffee shop is named Lâm Cafe. We have registered our trademark. We have established since 1952, same as my age, which means that I was born in 1953 and Lâm Cafe was established in 1952.
I was told that your coffee shop is one of those that preserves the heritage of coffee as well as Hanoi's works of art. Could you share a little bit about that?
Well, Lâm Cafe was established in 1952, starting with Mr. and Mrs. Lâm coffee business. We have been in this house at number 60, Nguyễn Hữu Khoi Street, Hanoi, since then. Still this old house, still in the old quarter, still maintaining its finest, its coffee quality. And this is like a destination for all people who love and enjoy coffee, true coffee. Since the reunification until now, a destination for artists, writers, painters to come, and with the inspiration from coffee, they have made a lot of remarkable works of art. Mr. and Mrs. Lâm are art lovers. They love the artworks that have been made with so much effort of the artists. Many sponsors, painters, and writers have given Mr. Lâm their artwork, among which many are valuable even until now. Back then, they didn't know what they made would be that valuable until this generation. It has been over half a century now. Those books with artists' remarks on the covers. People would paint and give Mr. Lâm those books. There are also drafts of poems, novels that people gave him. Those were the most difficult time when we could probably think of them as some kind of exchanges. And Mr. Lâm still kept those. And to his children's time, they have searched for those writers and artists' children to give back to them so that they could print out. Some had been printed. For example, writing of Zhao's novel, Sống Vắng. That's just an example. This is also the destination for many popular artists, such as artists in the Big Four, like Mr. Sáng, Mr. Nguyễn Sáng, Mr. Nguyễn Nghiêm, Mr. Bùi Xuân Phái, Mr. Dương Bích Liên, Mr. Văn Cao, Mr. Huy Ngọc, and in general, many famous artists have been here to enjoy coffee, to sit in an old and cozy atmosphere and enjoy coffee in its purest form made by the family's finest values since the start until now. And from generation to generation, we still keep going to build up the Lâm Cafe's brand. And up to now, there have been people from different generations coming here. Some are old, some have gone away, then their children would still keep coming. Now there are still many people coming here from different generations, different classes, doctors, nurses, professors, and students and workers, etc., who love Lâm Cafe and come to number 16 Nguyễn Hữu Khoi to enjoy a cup of coffee.
Could you share a bit more with us, as we actually love to see the paintings when coming here? Lâm Cafe is actually a heritage not only because of coffee, but also art. So I'm not sure, during the maintenance, preservation and development of this collection, do you find any difficulty or challenge?
Thì cái bộ sưu tập tranh
Well,
của
Mr.
Lâm
Lim's
thì
painting collection is big,
rất là nhiều
and it has been brought to exhibitions abroad in Vietnam and in foreign countries, even to France, Malaysia, and Thailand, and exhibitions in Vietnam.
triển lãm ở Việt Nam. Thế thì cái bảo tồn
For preservation,
đến bây giờ
up until now, we, the children, are still keeping and preserving them in the best places. When there is a chance, we would organize an exhibition of the paintings in our collection. This is Mr. Lim's wish that we have not been able to realize yet. We would like to hold an exhibition at this number 16 Nguyen Huu Khoi. Here, we have received 40 ambassadors to Vietnam of different countries. They have visited to enjoy coffee, to look at the paintings and exchange here.
tại đây.
So, could you please share a bit more about the coffee values of your cafes? What makes the Lum Cafe special?
Giá trị cà phê thì
Coffee values. What we call the coffee drink has arisen in Vietnam since the French colonial time.
người Pháp sang đô hộ Việt Nam. Đấy, trước khi mà hòa bình lập lại,
Before we had our freedom, there were French officials, Vietnamese officials working for the French in Hanoi, and the demand for coffee was very high to keep them fresh and conscious and smart at work. The officials were normally from the city hall, state treasury, banks, basically offices in Vietnam. They brought the French coffee recipes to Vietnam, and we would say that the Vietnamese people are very clever and quick, and they just met the market's demand by processing, frying, and grinding, and making coffee to the French taste, as well as the Vietnamese and people from all classes, both working class and the rich who enjoyed coffee. Up until now, Lum Cafe still keeps its own coffee quality. That's why it has been out there for nearly 70 years. It has been successful due to the family's coffee quality, and in general, it has become like a coffee fine art.
Yes, coffee fine art. So that means all your coffee is homemade.
Our coffee is heirloom. The secret recipe from generation to generation is that it's all homemade.
So apart from your family's original coffee shop at 16 Nguyễn Hữu Huân, we also noticed one or two others, are they?
Yes, there is another one about children's. In Nguyen Hữu Huân Street, there are a total of 4 Lum coffee shops, but this is the original place. This place has the most paintings.
So, that's all for today's show. We hope you enjoyed tuning in to learn about some new aspects of Vietnam's coffee culture. We will be back with another program on a different cultural theme. Thanks for listening and see you again soon. Tạm biệt và hẹn gặp lại các bạn.